I just want to reassure actors that like we are just people who have insecurities as well, and we don't know all the answers, and it's only our opinion that we can give at the end of the day, not kind of a surefire tip to like get you a job or anything like that. But we are human and we work for you, and we do the best job that we can. Just try to kind of see us as relatable people who are trying to get you the job, rather than like people who are like holding this golden ticket, because ultimately we want to do a good job and get the right people for the job as well. So.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the show. Today I'm joined by Sophie Kingston-Smith, who's worked with some of the leading casting directors in the industry, including Lucinda Sison and Carmela Cochrane, and she's currently casting associate to Rose Wicksteed. Some of her most notable projects include Genius Picasso, Homeland Series 8, and the Sony feature film Escape Room. Sophie's currently working with Rose on a series for Apple, and I'm delighted that she's been able to find a bit of time to come and join me for a chat today. So, Sophie, welcome. How are you doing?
Hey, Ashley. I'm really good. Thank you so much for having me on.
My pleasure.
Just suddenly realizing that we're doing a podcast now, and it's gone from chat to serious. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, right. We put our formal voices on.
Yeah,
get all prim and proper. It's fine. Give it like 30 seconds, and I'll start swearing, and then it'll all just be totally fun and laid back.
I'll let you go first then.
No worries, it's fine. I like a good game of chicken to see who swears first. So you've been busy. You're like you've been working this week. You have projects that have come in. So normally, although I don't like to ask it, I do anyway. Like, how are you dealing with the lockdown? But I'm more interested to actually, because you've been working. Like, how's this last week of working during lockdown been? Has it been different? Same as usual?
Well, I guess the project that I'm doing at the moment, I can't really say what it is just yet, but it's going to be kind of following on from something else. So it's a lot of kind of research, and it's a lot of it's very admin heavy at the beginning. But the thing is, I think at the beginning of most casting projects, it's always very much kind of ideas, and getting your ideas down onto databases or whatever your system is. So it's just a lot of data collection. So for this week, we've been working from home, but the pace hasn't eased up. It's been full on. It's been kind of working to speed, and it's just kind of collecting data, very, very admin-y. So it's been fine, but I do find that at home it's harder to concentrate necessarily when you're working at speed, because I am surrounded by all of the things that are here to distract me and to make me feel comfortable. My puppy being one of them, which has been very, really nice to spend more time with him. But also, when he's looking at me with those eyes and he just wants to play, I feel tremendously guilty that I've got another 10 lists to create or something. So, yeah. But
it is that thing, isn't it? They do say, like, try and get a space in your home if you're working from home that's just for work. If you're lucky enough to do that. Otherwise, there's all the distractions of, I'll just play with the puppy, or what's half an hour of Netflix that's like a binge-a-thon. So it does test your discipline a little bit, right? But
it does, especially. But I seem to perpetually be in the middle of the series. Like I don't know how I never finish anything. I'm just always kind of halfway through. Like normal people, I'm halfway through Killing Eve season 3. Like we need to finish The Outsider. There's so many things that we just haven't finished yet.
Well, is that because you're just starting like a new one whilst you still have 3 on the go? So you're just juggling.
Exactly. And I just I'm really tempted to have my laptop open with it on there as well. But actually, thankfully, because we've been so busy on this, I haven't even had time to think about even having something on in the background. I think the radio is the most I can get away with at the moment. So.
Yeah, it's probably safer. You don't want to delve into like binging a series instead of making the series you're supposed to be making, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Let's maybe go back a few steps and kind of go into, I guess, your origin story, if that's the word. Like, I guess, how did you get into the world of casting and kind of to the point that you're at now?
I've actually taken a very roundabout way. So I'm not somebody who has an acting background. I'm not an actor. I did know fairly early on about casting and wanting to be in casting. Probably as a teenager, I thought it was a really interesting job, and I was really fascinated by it, and I studied psychology and film, and I thought that was two subjects I was very interested in anyway. But I thought that they kind of transcended into casting quite nicely. But then I think it was just this sense of this real kind of distance that I had created in my head about how difficult it was to get into casting, and how, you need all of this experience and connections. And I didn't know anybody, I didn't know any actors, I didn't come from any kind of creative family background, I didn't really have the connections. So I just kind of graduated, went traveling, worked in bars, did that kind of thing. And eventually I got an internship at a video production company. And I started working there for about 3 months, I think. I was kind of shared as an assistant between two companies that shared an office space. Ended up getting a job at a audio production company where I started. That was kind of my first foray into kind of doing a bit of casting. I helped to do a bit of voice casting, and I really loved it. And it was mainly kind of like animation and stuff like that, or commercials. And off the back of that, I ended up in a talent management position, because I think everyone told me, in order to get into casting, become an agent's assistant. But unfortunately, I kind of, well, not unfortunately, I had a really nice time working for this this agent, but she represented factual presenters rather than actors. So it was kind of not really the right segue into casting that I was looking for. But from them, that led me on to extras casting at an extras agency. And that was kind of like when I started to make connections within kind of production company places properly, which led me to my first job, which was working for lovely Gabrielle Dawes, who was doing Chichester Festival Theatre at the time. And that was kind of how I think of my career as beginning, really, was from that point. And that was, God, I was 27 by that point. So it took me 6 years from the time I graduated to actually get my first job in casting. And if you do, if you discount extras booking and stuff.
Knowing in that time that you did want to get into casting, though, so it wasn't like I'm leaving it on the back burner and it just kind of will come in later life. It was, you were consciously still doing that. It's interesting because I think it's good for people. I mean, there is no overnight success, so it's always nice to hear, other people in different disciplines say, look, like, I've bust my ass to get to where I'm at now, and like, this isn't, there's that for a swear word, kind of. Kind of. But it's like, yeah, it's not overnight success story. Now you're working, with Rose, and you've worked with some huge casting offices on big projects, but you had to really like graft it to get there. And that's a through line for all of us. But I think it's just, important, I think, is the message to recognize that this doesn't happen overnight for anybody, and you have to really be dedicated at this shit.
No, you're right. You're completely right. And I think that's the thing. I think there's plenty of times when I do feel like if you weren't passionate about the job, you would have quit, because it's particularly not even in the run up to getting to the first job I had, getting through all the assistant jobs to get to, a type of scenario where I'm associate level now, and, I've cast my own projects and stuff as a casting director. There's a lot of experiences as well that me and other casting people have gone through in order to get to that point. And it's not an easy road. It's actually, there's a lot of stuff you have to take on, and a lot of egos you have to deal with. But I mean, I'm sure that's true of a lot of, areas of work. But it's the
politics.
Kind of thing that
it's the politics, right?
Yeah.
Which is everywhere. I mean, I worked in digital marketing for 14, 15 years alongside what I do. And I've worked in agencies for huge clients that are like multi-million-dollar clients, and the politics and the egos. It's the same like in every line of work. And I guess everybody thinks that their way is the right way until eventually you find the right people that you can connect with that go, we can do this differently. Like, we can have a flatter hierarchy, or we can be more open-minded, or we can, have our experience, but empathize that you might have a different set of experiences. And yeah, I guess maybe when we're starting out in any line of work, we kind of have to maybe take a little bit of the shit and take a little bit of the rough kind of, ride with it until we can, turn back and say, okay, I have some experience now. Like, that's not going to fly anymore.
Oh no, completely. And I think I think you have to really care about the job to make it through, though. That's the thing, because otherwise, why would you? I don't know. You really do have to make quite a lot of sacrifices, and particularly, like I said, I regard that period as starting again, which was when I went from a full-time job on payroll, all of that stuff, to freelance situation, invoicing, no set work. I had to subsidize the assistant work with working on reception at some like leisure centre places and Pilates clubs and stuff, which is fine, but not what I wanted to do. And I just, I think there was a lot of pressure. I felt a lot of mounting pressure to just quit and get a real job, as my dad would love to say to people. But I'm really glad I stuck it out, because I'm really passionate about it, and I really love casting, and I love the people side of it mainly. And I think the more you kind of grow within your career ladder, the more access you have to people and the more conversations you're a part of, compared to, I think at first, particularly with some casting directors, they can be very protective of their brand and their work. And I completely understand why, particularly when you have to kind of really fight for your place in the industry. But I'm just really glad that I've got to a place now where I work with someone who understands me and I understand her, and we support each other, and we like each other's taste level, and particularly when you feel like you're listened to and your ideas are heard. I think that's really, really nice to get to that point.
That's everything, right? Like the taste obviously is one big thing, because if you might have great casting people you could work with, but maybe your tastes just don't align, which is normal. Like that's just life, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I guess it's like, I say this about agents, it's like dating with agents. You kind of have to go through a few to find the right one. But I suppose it's maybe not that different with casting as well. Like you've had to maybe, not that you don't resonate with some of the past ones, but maybe find a bit of a home, where you really just feel like you click with Rose, and
Mhm.
yeah, like that's probably going to make your life a lot easier when you're working on projects.
Oh my God, completely. Yeah, completely. And it just means that, the hierarchy, as it were, is kind of broken down a little bit more as well, because, yeah, I just feel that she's not someone who's very precious about what she's doing and her work. And, we work well as a team, and I respect her a lot. And, but I feel like she respects her team and treats her team well. And she refers to us as a team rather than it being like her. But, ultimately, it absolutely is her company, and she's worked really hard to build it, but she will send the lift back down, as they say, which is really nice. I really like that.
Yeah, it's important, right? And then like, eventually that gives you even more experience to maybe springboard into your own thing if and when you feel like the time's right, and it's a win-win. But you can't, I don't think in any walk of life, dictating to people or a team is the way to get the best success in the long run.
Mm,
Like, when I've managed teams, it's the same approach. If you tell someone what to do, most people are like, fuck off, don't tell
yeah,
me what to do. It's more like, understand the human and that they're a human. Don't talk about them as being like a resource, and
yeah.
um, family, I guess, is a really corny way of saying it, but feeling like it is a bit of a family away from your family.
Well, you spend so much time together. Like I spend more time with the people I work with than I do with my own fiance, with my friends, with my parents. Like they become your family, and you go through a lot when you work through in a small team together. Particularly working on projects for like the US market, when you've got a lot of people that aren't even in the same country as you, but they're just waking up as you're just finishing your day, and so they're trying to cram like in 2 or 3 hours like a whole day's worth of communication just at the crossover of the end of the day. Like it gets really intense, and like you go through a lot
Yeah.
together. And one of my friends, Nick, he used to work with us, he will always remind me it's a personality thing. Well, I don't think everyone would be suited for the job, because you just need to be able to just be super, super flexible, and just like jump around and put one thing down and pick something up, and don't get too attached to something because it will be cut tomorrow. Like it's the same with being an actor. I think you just have to like really just be super, super flexible and just kind of
Mm.
go with the flow. And I think not every personality kind of fits that way of working.
Mm. That's interesting because it makes sense, but not many people talk about it that candidly. And I guess organization, right?
Oh God,
Like,
my organization is shit. It's so bad. Like I'm just not naturally an organized person. But I think that's the nice thing about working in a small team, is like that's not my strength. But some of the assistants that Rose has are very organized and got great admin skills, and really kind of are really hot on that side of things. And I've learned to be as organized as I can. It just doesn't come naturally to me. But I think she likes the fact that I have good ideas and I'm good in the casting room, and we all have our place in the team. And I really enjoy that. And obviously Rose is super good at all of those things. and I aspire to kind of be, as good as her one day. But I just don't think that naturally I am an organized person. I think my strengths, maybe if I worked in like a partnership with another casting director and we were a duo and we kind of picked up each other's slack, we might have a chance.
Well, that's just self-awareness, right? Like, you don't have to be a perfect organizer. If you know that you're not, then you know what you're walking into and what you're going to need, and you know what your skills are to then add to the conversation. How much does the psychology part of what you studied come into play with casting for you? I'm guessing it's maybe not super implicit and conscious, or maybe it is. Like, I'm intrigued by that now that you brought up psychology.
Well, it's not really, none of the things that we kind of really studied come into play, because there were more kind of heightened scenario type of situations, like studies from the 60s where people will like simulate a prison scenario, or the kind of all of the kind of case studies that we studied were more kind of about kind of how we behave as a society. But I think it's just the fact that I have an interest in psychology makes a good kind of, kind of feeds into casting, because you really have to think about like what is the root of somebody and how can they get to there. And I think we always like to cast quite genuinely as well, quite authentically where possible, particularly when it comes to when we're doing like European casting and everything. So if someone has a kind of back history that lends itself to the character, we always respond really well to that. And I personally kind of really like that. And but yeah, in terms of like applying learned knowledge from psychology, I don't really have any of that. I think it's just more of a natural interest that means that when it comes to talking to people and getting to know them, you find out a bit more about them in the room, and then they let their guard down a little bit more, you let your guard down a little bit more, and the whole atmosphere when it comes to reading with them is helped by that, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. So obviously, when we're allowed back in rooms, or when we used to be in rooms, and you have people come in, like, everyone's different. People have different levels of nerves. Maybe they show it differently. So I guess that ability to potentially read the environment and the person pretty quickly,
Yeah.
to help, I guess, put them at ease or redirect them or whatever it is you have to do, because you're effectively molding a performance out of them in that small window of time you have them for, right? Or am I missing a trick?
No, you're right. I think, and it is really about putting people at ease, and I think you have to have good people skills, and that does come from, again, a natural interest in psychology and everything. I think there's a little, I don't know if all casting people would agree with me about this, but I think there's a little kind of people pleaser in a lot of casting personnel as well. That is kind of, I guess, it's prevalent in a lot of actors as well.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like, you
Yeah.
beat me to it. There's, like, most actors have that people pleasing thing, and you have to get to a point. To be fair, I think most people have that people pleasing thing, and
Yeah.
then you get to a point in your life where you realize, who am I trying to please? Like, why? What is that external thing or person? Where does it come from?
Mm.
And like, what's the point of me trying to get validation out of someone or something else, as opposed to just, I guess, showing up because you enjoy it and you're passionate and you just want to have a bit of fun and play with whatever the scene or the film or the TV show is.
Yeah.
Not give a fuck about what anyone else thinks, which is, everybody says that. I used to always say it too, like, because you have to, and you feel like you have to say, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. And I sort of think it's easy to say it because it sounds cool, until you
Yes.
actually get to a point where you're like, actually, I really genuinely don't care, but I also really, really do. It's like that contradiction. Like, I care what someone thinks, otherwise, why would I do it? I don't
Oh,
want to come into the room and be like, I don't give a fuck what Sophie thinks. I don't care if she likes my read or not. No, I want you to like what I did. It's more that when I leave, I don't want to be worried about it. And
yeah.
then, I think that's the balance. Do you have any kind of, I guess, mindset tips or tricks that you could give to us fellow actors on how to let it go when we've left the room?
Man, I don't know how you do it. Honestly, I mean, I would be playing it over and over and again in my head. But it is such good advice to just kind of not get attached to it, and therefore just kind of release it when you go. But I guess I guess just think ahead, like think about the next thing. You've got, I think if you always have a certain thing lined up for yourself, if you're proactive enough that, and you and your agent work well enough together that you once you've shut the door on an audition, there's something else that you're working on. So you've got something else lined up that you can focus on. That way it can help you just kind of, metaphorically shut the door on the thing that you just did. But I think it's just about being positive and looking forward. But I mean, the thing is, even if you had a really terrible audition, there's a lesson to be learned from it, which is you weren't prepared enough, or you let your nerves get in the way, or so just try and think about what can I do better next time as well, and how can I make a better impression, and also, God, you could walk out the room thinking you absolutely stank in there, and then your agent calls the next day and said you've got a recall. Like, you just don't know. So I think you just have to try and have a positive mindset about, wherever possible.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason, I guess.
Mm.
I mean, there's the other side of that where like not every actor, especially early on, is going to get loads of auditions. So I'm thinking now from their perspective and going, cool, Sophie, I hear you. But what if I get like one audition every 2 or 3 months, right? Or what if I'm a super niche casting type in the UK? Maybe I'm not British. I only go out once in a while when there's something for me as a Spaniard or Eastern European. Then what do I do to like keep my mind off of that? Because that was like my one audition this month.
Oh God. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just like, yeah, keeping busy with your own kind of projects. I mean, there's quite a lot of resources available. There's quite a lot of opportunities to train. There's a lot of content that helps you to kind of focus. The difficult thing is, though, a lot of experience is so subjective in the industry. So one casting director might kind of really respond to something you've done in the room, and then if you've applied it again the next time and it doesn't go down very well, then you're probably left thinking, well, hang on a minute, well, there's no, what am I doing wrong this time? I think it's about, if you do go in for this audition, I would kind of think about what you did, and then maybe try to kind of just be flexible. Maybe that's the thing, actually. Maybe you could just work on reading the room from your side as well, so that when you come in, do you know what's really good to do is workshops are really great, because and commercial castings, if you can get them, are really great, because I instantly notice when someone comes in for an audition if they do a lot of commercial castings or not, because they just take direction really quickly. They're very, very good listeners. Someone who gets booked for castings, for commercials a lot, they tend to be people that listen, take the direction, change it up, and then just do it differently the second time. And I think that's a really good way to practice. And a lot of people are a bit sniffy about commercials, and I don't get it, because it's a very, very difficult skill to hone, commercial casting. It's actually really integral to being, especially in the comedy sector, being able to kind of instantly communicate a feeling or an emotion within a matter of 2 or 3 seconds is very, very difficult to do. So, there's lots of good opportunities to practice within those scenarios as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's the improvisation with that, right? Where you're in an audition for a commercial and you have to imagine that there's like a pink elephant floating across your head as you're running towards a puddle, and then you fall into the real experiences. But it's like that's such heightened, and you have to do it in like it's like 2 seconds, and there's no dialogue sometimes, and it does keep you, I guess, on your toes and your feet. And I don't know, what do you think? That's interesting because you said you feel people are, I guess, poo-pooing it a little bit more commercials. What do you think is the shift around that? Is it the buyouts maybe being lower than what they once were, or residuals getting sort of less common or taken away? Like,
Possibly, yeah. I think it's maybe financially there's been a bit of a downturn in terms of the money that's coming out and stuff. But I don't know. Maybe it's just it's not considered real acting. That's why the people kind of can be a bit strange about it. But my God, they pay. They often pay well, and they are really good. You know, it's just good practice, good work, good contacts. Especially if you build up a good relationship with directors who work for the big names like Pulse and Blink and those kind of guys, then it's really, really good to do those.
And a lot of commercial directors end up doing their own films and indie projects. I mean,
Exactly.
the guy is an American director, but the guy that won the best live action short at the Oscars this year did loads of commercials through most of his career. That's not to say that it's a clear transition to then win an Oscar, but they normally go on to do their own narrative fictional projects too. So it's the long game, right? Like,
Yeah. And a lot of those companies a lot of those production companies are turning to original content as well, to do things like these more artistic projects like that lend into shorts and then they lead into something else, and they always have really like high production quality as well because they've got the financial behind it. So yeah, I think just I've forgotten your question now. What was the question?
Me too. I don't know. I'm
I think
sure there was one. Maybe there wasn't. I don't know.
well, I've noticed there's been a few commercials I've noticed recently. I think it was for Viva where they've started using kind of like these real talented comedians, comedic actors, not stand-up comedians, but comedic actors in their commercials now, which you didn't usually see. Which and I think it's obviously and it's tough because they're doing something really funny in about a 20-second advert, and it's quite difficult to do that.
Yeah, I wonder. I know you're not in that world much, if at all, now, but do you think that things like Facebook and YouTube and the fact that you have people not really watching TV commercials at all has changed it? And that maybe people, when they make commercials now, are making it with the mindset of it's going to be actually seen on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, as opposed to being seen on like the TV? Like,
Oh, I
you know
never
what I
thought.
mean?
Yeah, no, I never thought about it like that. I thought you were kind of leaning towards the security that maybe it wouldn't be seen or something. I don't know if that's.
Oh, I mean, like on YouTube, for example, if they put a paid commercial in front of you,
Hmm.
they like pay to put it displayed in front of you. You sometimes have to watch the full thing, or at least 15 seconds. I can't skip it until they give me the option. So you already have to watch some of it on Sky or whatever. I just skip past that stuff.
Yeah.
So you almost have to watch it on those platforms. So I guess it was more like, do we feel that maybe these media companies and brands are shifting to put commercial content more towards those kinds of outlets than, say, ITV, BBC? I don't know.
I don't know. Do you know? I don't really have that much of a. You kind of nodded to it. I don't really have much of a social media presence, so I don't really kind of engage with kind of that side of things too often. But no, yeah, you're probably right. You probably have a point there.
Who knows? Right. Shall we get to some questions? Because I think people will start joining into this. Well, they have joined the waiting room. Let me just see what we can pick out. Okay, I don't know if we alluded to this before. Kind of, I think we did a little bit. There's a lady called Michelle who's emailed, and she said she was a police officer for 23 years, and she's like she feels she can bring experience to a character because of her just life in the force, if it's that kind of character that you're looking for. So she's basically asking, do you ever, when you send out breakdowns for characters to agents, actually ask agents to put forward people with real life experience of jobs or things like that?
Oh my god, yeah, we absolutely do. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it does depend on the project because if it's kind of if it's more a case of like a leading actor is looking for someone to play opposite them, then I think the kind of acting experience would outweigh the real life job experience. But particularly when it comes to kind of military training, like arms, weapons handling, that kind of thing, from all the kind of work we did on a Homeland, that kind of stuff was really, really, really useful. Just to have somebody that could turn up and brandish a weapon authentically and not have to, it's just really someone who has the gait, someone who has the posture for somebody who's worked in the field. That really helps a lot, and it communicates very very clearly on camera if they're comfortable with that. And that project was slightly different because they have rehearsal periods, but not every project does have rehearsal periods. So real life experience will come into play, absolutely. I mean, we wouldn't discriminate against people who don't have any real life experience, but I think those that did have that experience will absolutely get noticed and prioritized. So
yeah, especially I guess if it's a co-star or a guest star role where you maybe don't quite know the actor as much, or you do but you maybe didn't know. So say you've got an actor that you maybe know a little bit but you weren't aware of that they were a cop, for example. How would you best recommend them to I guess project that? Like, would you just tell your agent and trust your agent to share the info with you? Should they put it in spotlight in the description little bit that you have? Like, what would your advice be to share that knowledge?
If they were suggesting for that particular project, I would definitely get their agent to put that in the comments when they're putting it forward, because I always because especially when sometimes you're picking people fairly quickly to initiate self tapes from. Every office works differently, but we work usually that if we initiate self-tapes in the first instance, and then we get people in the room whose self-tape that we liked. But we won't always get someone in the room if we know them well. But if we don't know them, we've never met them, then we would ask them to come in the room, and then we kind of meet you and work with you a little bit as well, or if we have specific notes to go through. So the people that we would bring in the room, we may not have met you already. Therefore, I think it's up to the agent to kind of write in that notes bit what your experience is, because that will kind of prompt us to get a self-tape from you and bring you in and everything. I mean, if you got wind of, say, a project that we were doing that you felt that you had the correct background for, I would email in as well and just kind of put that in an email, and with a link to your Spotlight page and your agent, if you have an agent, and highlight that for us, because we've cast a few people based on language requirements that have written into us that didn't have a Spotlight profile, and they were often actually in another country, and we were casting Europeans, but we had one guy that he was from Iceland actually, but we were struggling to find really, really, really blonde haired men to play. They wanted kind of like really German looking, really blonde guys. And he just happened to write in from Iceland and sent us his CV, sent us a self-tape, and he was adorable, and he got cast off the back of that. So I think just kind of pitch your email, and timing is always a factor. So often it's out of your hands, but good timing. We've cast him since, and in a completely different capacity. And I always think of him fondly, Ash, because it's just nice serendipity that he just emailed at the right time.
You never know, right? You never know. I guess that's not an excuse for us to kind of email you every week. It's more pick and choose your moments. But like if you don't have an agent, reach out. And if you do, I don't know, like, would you say make sure you're on the same page as your agent, get the game plan aligned, don't have, I guess, you emailing and then emailing independently, and you're kind of crossing wires without kind of...
It's interesting you say, because I think a lot of actors, they kind of tiptoe around this issue a little bit, like they don't want to inundate the casting director with all of these emails, and I do see where you're coming from with that, and I do think that kind of a targeted approach is better. But I mean, if you're passionate about the job, write to us. Like I don't see any problem with that. I think a lot of casting directors might kind of try and put that approach off and say, oh, I don't really want to be inundated with all these emails and everything. But I mean, it's just an email. It's not like it's a singogram that we have to open the door to.
I get. Like, now you're going to get 6 of those. Just
I would love that.
Really? Okay. I'm going to find a mariachi band to come and just like do some weird mariachi song.
33 years of being alive, and no one's ever sent me a mariachi band, so I'd really appreciate that, actually.
Great. Okay. I think I've just dug myself a hole there that I can't get out.
How are they going to adhere to social distancing as mariachi band? Like, they'll be like all the way down the street.
They'll play loud enough. Megaphones, speakers. It's we'll find a way. It's all good. I'm more concerned about how we get them into the UK from Mexico than how they hear you at this point, to be fair.
Well, that's all on you. You've made a run for your plan now.
I have. Great. Awesome. I am with you. I guess it was more like, if we know of a project specifically, reach out. I was maybe going more from the angle of, we just speculatively emailing, which is slightly different, because if you don't know what's going on in your office, yes, still reach out, but it's maybe not quite as targeted. Whereas the agent's probably going to know a bit more about what your office is doing, so it's kind of just aligning with them on that. Just a little bit off the back of that question that Michelle had about being a cop. So, you spoke about weapons and guns as an example, languages as well. Would you advise it's worth actors having little snippets of footage on a show reel, on Spotlight, or on YouTube as a separate clip, that if the agent's then subbing for someone who speaks French or someone that can, use a weapon, they can send you a clip that shows them, let's say doing both, speaking French, holding a weapon? Like, would you look at that, is my point.
Yes. It's the short answer. I mean, you're doing the hard work for us. It's ultimately our job to find these people, to find people that are right for the role. So anyone who makes our life easier will be self-taping for us, will be coming in the room. Someone that fits the criteria. Especially the more specific it is, the more useful it is to have an example of it. And particularly, if it's something that can be demonstrated, then absolutely, I would. In fact, we did a project. Well, I was kind of halfway through casting a short last year, and one of the requirements was was martial arts, and so I got a whole bunch of people that were happy to do the job. Well, put themselves forward, responded to my spotlight breakdown. This is something I did kind of beyond Rose Wicksteed, and I asked them all to just kind of do a little demo of their doing various kind of martial arts experience, and it was brilliant because everyone was, within about 24 hours, and all you have to do is just go outside, stand in your garden, stand in the street, or even just clear some space in your living room, get someone to film it on an iPhone. It's not going anywhere. It's just for us to be able to see. It doesn't have to be high production value. But I think if you're going to put it on YouTube or add it to your show reel, then you should be concerned about the quality. But I think if you have a demonstrable skill, absolutely, if you can find a way to record it, that's really helpful for us.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense because I think there's lots of actors that maybe they've done stage combat or they speak another language, but there's no footage of them actually doing that. And I guess it just makes your life easier, to the point of, say, Homeland, which is super specific with if you're an agent in Homeland or there's, you're one of the terrorists or whatever, you're probably going to have weapons training. You don't want someone that's holding the gun wrong, for example.
Yeah. Well, there will be people on set. I guess it's about being upfront though, because there will be people on set to advise, particularly with a project like that where it's high profile and they want to get the detail right. So I think there were people on there to advise. Like there was one guy that was putting them through their military training. It was like a boot camp effectively for the actors, which I heard was grueling, which made me laugh. But I think they'll be there to kind of advise. But if you kind of if you were booked on the back of the assumption that you have all of this experience and then you turn up on set and you don't know which end of the gun to hold, then it doesn't look good on you and it doesn't look good on us. So I would be upfront about it. And
my mind just went straight to that Friends episode with Joey where he goes in and he pretends he could dance or something.
Oh my god, yes, I was thinking about that the other day.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think our minds all tell us that we could do everything, and then if you get caught out, I can't think of anything worse, actually.
In fact, they used that example. There was the one where he pretended that he wasn't circumcised, and then he said that he could speak French. So don't be Joey. Just
don't be Joey. That's a T-shirt. I think that we could maybe
exactly
side business. Don't be Joey T-shirts.
Best advice I can give right now.
I have some more questions from people that have written in, but if you're cool, I might save them, bring in some of the people that are in the waiting room first, and then if we have time, I'll get back to some of these at the end and we can kind of circle back. So let's bring in some people. So this is hopefully Fernando, who is one of those actors who aren't based in the UK and is in a different country. Fernando, hello.
Ashley, how you doing?
Hi.
I'm good. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well.
Good.
Where are you, Fernando?
Hi, Sophie. Tell me, sorry?
Where in the world are you?
I'm in Madrid at the moment.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word. Bonjour, no?
That would be Milan.
Oh.
Close. They're also having a bad coronavirus epidemic. So you're close. And although Madrid today, you've just been allowed out to do exercise. I saw Gran Via, there were people cycling and running for the first time, right?
Yeah, there's 2 turns to go out running in the morning and then in the evening. So I'm waiting to 8 p.m. so I can go for a run for the first time in almost 2 months.
How have they done it? Is it for age groups or something that they've given different?
Yeah. Young people are allowed to go running in the morning and in the evening, and the rest of the day is more for kids and old people. So craving that so much. You
I can imagine.
Get some fresh air and run stuff.
It looks like it's sunny as well for you.
What is it, sorry?
It looks like it's sunny.
Yeah. It's sunny today. It's beautiful. It's very nice. It's almost 30 degrees today.
Oh my god, that must be so frustrating to be stuck inside.
Yeah. So it's going to help with the inner voices I'm hearing all the time now.
Oh, man.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to just let you guys chat, and Fernando, whatever questions you have for Sophie, just your time, man. Go for it.
Okay. I don't know if it's a very common question, but I would like to know your opinion, Sophie, about the clothing choice for an audition, whether it's in person or self-tape. Do you think we should go always with a neutral, or do you think we should bet and give the character our own view?
What was that? Sorry, go with an intro.
Clothing.
Clothing choice.
Clothing choices.
Oh,
So,
clothing. Sorry, clothing. It depends. I think a lot of people would say to just wear a kind of really basic, plain kind of, t-shirt. No kind of nod to, just something that kind of is applicable to any scenario. It really depends. I think if you're coming in the room, I think just keep it really, really simple and just work, just play it safe. I think if you're doing a self-tape, there's a bit more room to experiment. And I think particularly if it's like a period piece, a little nod to the period is really helpful for us. And you don't know who is going to see the tape, because it might be that it goes past us to the producer and then to the director before you've even been in the room. So it's not a bad idea to kind of, put your best foot forward in that self tape. And to, I mean, you don't have to go mad. No one wants you to like buy a whole new outfit. But one it was quite interesting actually. One actor came in for a general meeting with us, and he had told us about how he kept being seen by the same casting director in the same light, as in he kept being recognized as like this, kept getting typecast as a certain type of guy. And so he decided that he was going to submit a self-tape for this role where he was meant to be playing kind of like a really dangerous kind of psychopath. And in that self-tape, he like put this whole other like regimented costume on, and it really kind of changed how the casting director saw him. And off the back of that self-tape, he got the role. So I think if you do have an outfit available to you that kind of changes the way people see you, then it's really, really helpful to do that. But no one wants you to spend lots of money. I think it's just more of a case of helping someone else use their imagination, I think.
Okay. And I guess with the props it's the same.
With props, it's really different schools of thought. I really like props. I think they're very helpful, particularly, I don't know if you've noticed, I'm quite a fidgety person. I use my hands a lot, and I think to imply, like, I think miming is so much worse than a prop. Like if you take a phone call like this, it's so awful. But if you can actually answer the phone, I think it really helps your self tape, and it doesn't distract from the tape. I mean, I'm thinking mainly in terms of self tape terms. But when it comes to being in the room, if you have just a little something available to you that helps the scene, absolutely use it. I think so. Because if the casting director doesn't want it, they'll ask you to put it down. That's fine. But don't be afraid to use them. I think they're helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't get it wrong. You can't get it wrong. The casting director will say if they don't want you to use it, and then you just don't use it.
Okay, yeah, because I saw, yeah, when there's no like a specification about the role, I've been doubting sometimes whether to stay completely neutral or to give it a touch, because you have a proposal, no? You see the role in a specific style, and that is going to help you, because as we know, clothing sometimes is crucial in order how the character interacts with it, and so yeah.
Well, I mean, often it's your one chance to make an impression, so use it. Do what you can to stand out, and if that means, side combing your hair or something, I don't know, just something to kind of help set the scene, then that can often be really helpful. Because especially if you have like a look, if your look is quite specific, to change it up so that they see you in a different light can often be really helpful.
All right. Okay, great.
I hope that helps you.
Fernando's gonna run now and try and find the only store that's open to buy clothes from.
Yeah.
Oh no, Fernando's gonna get a whole new look now, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm going to get thinner for sure, because I'm going to be running like a crazy, like a madman.
Just run until you get to all the way to where are you? Which part of Madrid are you in?
I'm downtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Madrid. It's beautiful.
So you just run up to Castellana, get to the bus station, and come back. That'll take you like 45 minutes.
Actually, the palace is not so far, and there's all these gardens and stuff.
Ah, okay.
It's a very nice place.
Lucky you.
I was supposed to be there 2 months ago, and then this kicked off just before the lockdown.
Oh no! Really?
Oh, no.
The day before the lockdown happened in Madrid, I was going to come to Madrid because, long story short, we were going to go to La Pedriza, which is some mountains north of Madrid, where my family home used to overlook it when I lived there. And when my dad passed away last year, one of his wishes was take me to the mountains. So we had this whole thing planned. It was going to be on the 21st of March, which is Persian New Year. My dad was from Iran. So there's this whole thing set up to like commemorate him. And the day before, Madrid got locked straight down. We're like,
So
not happening.
you have family here in Spain now at the
I have a
moment?
half brother and half sister in Madrid that live in, where are they based? Alonso Martinez, I think, is where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So they've not been out. Well, my half sister's 12, so she's been out quite a lot. But the rest of them are like you, locked indoors.
Uh-huh.
Locked indoors.
Hopefully soon you can come.
Hopefully. I might wait until next year. My view is I'm not going to travel this year, just to keep it safe.
Good idea.
Maybe
Cool.
just consider it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Don't give. Yeah, maybe not. My imagination doesn't need any thoughts or any advice to go anywhere else than where it goes already. Fernando, thanks for joining, man. It was good to see you. Enjoy your run.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I will for sure. And nice to meet you, Sophie.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Ciao.
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 That's what I was looking for.
There you go. Should be brushing up on languages in this downtime, Sophie. Forget about like working on casting projects and being. Come on.
Well, if it comes to Afghan languages, I'm your girl because I feel like I understand them all so much better from doing Homeland and then also from this Apple project as well. Like, man, but when it comes to like my neighboring countries, no chance.
What was that like on Homeland then, quickly, now that you just touched on that, in terms of dealing with those kinds of languages? Obviously, I guess you didn't know it. Well, so how do you go about finding something super specific like that are also actors?
That's a really good example of don't lie, because there have been times when, there's a language that we were trying really hard to find, which was Pashto, which is an Afghan language, but Dari is more widely spoken. It's more of a kind of rural language, which kind of, it's mostly common among Taliban members to speak Pashto, right. But it's kind of more like, it's kind of north and more regional type of dialect. And a lot of people would say, oh yeah, we speak Pashto. And then obviously we, as English speakers, would have no idea, so we'd just kind of take their word for it. And then luckily they had someone verifying the languages, and then they would come back and say, this person doesn't speak Pashto at all. And we go, oh my God, So yeah, I think, but we did a lot of outreach we tried to kind of outreach among the Afghan community, but we kind of went to actors and we asked, like, can your dad come in and audition? Do they want to come in for like a one-line role? And we actually had people's like cousins and mums and brothers come in. That's awesome. To try and get them a role.
Where was this season filming? Was it Morocco, or have I just made that up completely?
No, you're right. It was filmed in Morocco, but to emulate Afghanistan.
Sure. Yeah. I didn't think you were sending people straight to the Taliban caves or anything. No. But that must have been a wide-reaching casting search. Was it just your office, or was Kimberly in the States and her team looking at those roles as well? Because it must be really tough to find that specific.
It was very specific. Kim and her team were doing doing search in the US as well, but we found that because of the turnaround for visas and everything, it was more kind of, the onus was a bit more on us to find them. And we did find that in European countries in particular, there was more of a community of Pashto speakers than there were in America. I think they maybe cast 2 or 3, but of those kind of dialects, most of that casting came from the European casting. But then we also had a Moroccan casting director, and she was casting a lot of the local roles, and she was doing a bit of outreach as well. But that it's not easy to find. It's really, really specific language. I think there's only 6 people on Spotlight that were female that speak it.
Talk about niche. That's super niche.
Yeah, super niche.
Awesome. Well, I like the moral of the story though. Like, if you have a skill, make sure you have the fucking skill.
Oh my God, yeah, completely. Because I mean, we were seeing people that had absolutely no acting experience, but because they spoke the role and they got the job, it was just because it was, I mean, obviously not for like a leading role, but for, kind of
for a one-liner, you can get them directed on the day, for sure.
Exactly, yeah. And the style of Homeland is quite pared back anyway, so like, you don't need like thespians, like.
That's always a no anyway though for screen for a lot of people, right? Just do less. Do
less, exactly.
Or do nothing. Like my cinematographer friends always just tell me, do nothing. That's good when you do nothing. So I don't know if that's a flattering thing or not. I don't know how to take that.
Well, I thought actors hate to hear, just have fun with it. They hate to hear that, don't they?
Only if you've already started doing the work, and then it makes you feel like, wait, do they think I've not been having fun, or like, you know what I mean? Beforehand, it's different. That's a good way to start. But if it's like 2 days into the project, what are you trying to say? Do I come across like I'm not having fun? Am I wooden? What's going on? What do you
Oh,
mean?
the anxiety, Ash. I don't know how you do it, honestly.
I think it's like auditions. I think it's the experience of doing it that much that you actually just know when the nerves are there, or you just get to a point where you're like, life's too fucking short. I just want to enjoy it. And literally, you do have that switch. And I think, I don't know how you learn that. I just think eventually it comes when you've done enough of them. Like auditions, I think you have to do a shitload of auditions until you get to that point where you're comfortable with auditioning in a room. Because it's obvious that the first few times you're going to be super nervy, or you're in your head, or maybe you're really cocky and you think you're going to book the job first time round. Like, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged. And I just think you have to get used to what it is, and the voices in your head afterwards more than anything.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's just kind of confronting. It's a very confronting experience, and you just have to kind of get over it. I think the first time I kind of heard my voice, because you're watching your auditions back when you're reading in, even that was horrific for like the first 4 or 5 months of listening to my voice over and over again.
Oh yeah, I remember like in my early 20s hearing my first self on playback, thinking I sound like Mickey Mouse.
I didn't think that.
No, but like, like you go into your head, I'm like thinking, that I sound totally different. You do obviously hear yourself differently anyway. And then you get into your head about it, and then it's just, I think it comes with growing up a bit too, baby. Like, as you get a bit older and wiser, you sort of see what's really important.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
What's good about this moment now, though, is what's happening. If there's a silver lining, is people like yourself coming on and having a chat like this, which hopefully lots of people are going to see, lets them see the side of the person, the human that's actually there from the casting side. And even though we maybe don't know you, and someone maybe just watching this video, they're going to get to at least see you as a person and kind of who you are a little bit more, so that if they do come in to read for you one day, it's not quite the same as not knowing who the hell the person is, or when you meet someone for the first time, it's a little bit more jarring, or you don't really get to feel it out. Like in an interview for a regular job, you kind of get to chat to the person and feel them out, whereas in a casting room, it's so quick for you guys.
Yeah, I know. It's really tough because you do have a tight schedule to run to as well. And I love to shoot the shit and just talk to people, but often I'm doing a nervous kind of glance at the clock and thinking, oh my God, I've got like 3 other people waiting. And you have to be really mindful of that as well. And I think as the actor, you have to kind of pick up on those cues as well and be like, not launch into long stories and stuff, because I'm thinking, oh God, it's like, not that I don't want to. We just
Warner Brothers weren't paying for me, or Sony weren't paying for me to just chit chat. So yeah, it's a really good point, and don't overstay the welcome.
Yeah.
Let me bring in another person. So let me bring in Julia. You're upside down, Julia.
You're 90-degree Julia.
We're gonna do this.
Am I sideways?
You're sideways. No, we're just both doing this because we want to practice our chiropractic.
I've
That's
been
better.
sitting for 20 minutes and I'm sideways. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. It makes
Am I the right way up now?
You are. Well, I'm not going to tell you.
Hell of an entrance to you. That's great.
That's a memorable intro. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Having a good old chat with Sophie. So
hi.
I'll kind
Lovely.
of
Hello, Sophie.
lead you to it.
Thank you. So Sophie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. How are you? You right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm a great actress and I have the right look for the role. I was wondering what might make me book the job over perhaps another equally talented actress who also has the right look.
Ooh. It could be. I mean, we touched on this briefly before. There might be some kind of personal connection that you have to the role that writers in particular really respond to, because I think they kind of write these roles. We try and cast authentically where possible, It could be a kind of a desire for it as well that maybe the other actress didn't have. But I mean, ultimately, the director or the producers are the ones who make the final casting decision.
Yeah.
So, but in order for us to kind of advocate more strongly one way or the other, I suppose it might be more of a case of like a personal connection, or maybe just that it might be that maybe you were a fresher casting choice than somebody else. If there was somebody that I mean, sometimes they might want a particular profile, but then sometimes they might have a real like desire to kind of discover somebody, which is often what a lot of productions like to kind of say that they like to do, even if they don't do it.
Yeah.
But I guess, I mean, it's tricky because ultimately, the role should go to the best actor. But I think if there was some kind of, if we made a connection with you and we could really feel that this role was kind of something that you felt really strongly about, that certainly helps the case as well. Definitely. It's kind of hard to say. Like...
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I mean, I think I was wondering, I guess presumably once you're in the room, I don't know if this would matter, but would your previous experience ever sway, do you think, the actress's previous credits, if she was quite new and didn't maybe have any TV credits before? Obviously you've brought her in, so you have some, faith and feeling for her work, but do you think that would ever, or do you think that might be a decision that's sort of, more producer kind of direction line? I don't know whether they would have a worry about experience.
I think what they would do, I think most times, if the director ever has any concerns about what if someone doesn't have enough experience or not, what they would do is they would bring you back if they can't physically be there, which is most of the projects I work on, the director can't be there because they're American, or they're it's an American production and they're elsewhere, or they're cross-boarding, so they're filming like lots of different things at the same time. They would ask to come back with the notes that they had given, and then we would direct you with the notes that the director had given, and they would see how you respond to these notes, and if they feel that you picked up on the direction and you changed it up according to how the director saw it, then it's a good indication to them that you can take direction and you are directable, and that should ease concerns for them about whether or not you have this big body of work or not. I think often they might want to, if it got to the point where it was between two people, they would ask for a Skype, a live directing Skype as well, where the director would kind of be in the room without literally being in the room and kind of work with you a little bit and see how that goes. But more often than not, I'd be surprised if a director were to dismiss somebody that did a really great take based on what experience they do or don't have, because their interest to work with you to see if you can get to a state where they, and they might even just want to just have a Skype with you just to chat and just see what your insights about the project were. Because I think ultimately it's about the work you do in the room, and it's about how you respond to direction that is the most important thing. And I think any good director knows that.
Okay. Am I allowed to ask another question? I don't know if Ashley's gonna tell me off on this.
Normally yes, but now that you asked if you could ask, like no, go for it.
I did have something else, but something has just come to me now from what you just said. So a previous agent that I had a meeting with had said to me, I came into acting relatively late, and he said to me that he wouldn't take me on other than commercials because no casting director would bring me in someone of my age, because I'm too old, without having the credits.
You said that to you?
It was I won't say who, but it was an acting agent.
Right.
Tell me in an email if Sophie really wants to know. If we do need to know, we'll do it that way.
I mean, I took that. It was quite painful to hear, but I had to dismiss it because that's not what I believed. And thankfully, I had then found another agent, and I did get in the room with a really great casting director and booked my first TV role.
Great.
So I was very pleased that I didn't take that on, but it did get in my head a little bit. So I guess I'm curious with the talking about experience. to sort of get on your radar, or it's always, you know, people always say, oh, you know, it's headshot first, look at your show reel, etc. Would you be put off if you had seen my headshot, for example, and there was something on my show reel? Would you be put off if there was nothing on TV, or if, you know, it was a lot of independent feature films and short films? Would that put you off bringing me in? I don't know. Would age certainly not be a factor in that? I don't know. Just,
I mean, first of all, I can't believe someone said that to you, and I'm really sorry that you have to listen to that, because that's absolute bullshit. And also, I think maybe 10 years ago, it would have been a case of, we have, say, I don't know, 20 slots in a day or something, I don't know, in the morning, and we're doing things in a very old school way where we've only got limited time and we don't have time to waste. In the day and age now of self-tapes, if I look at someone's profile, their experience really doesn't affect whether or not they, to me, you know, they can turn around a really good stuff. Because what we usually do is to get a self-tape in the first instance anyway, if we haven't seen you before, and that way it's something that, like, that can go out to quite a few people, and that way we watch those and then bring someone in the room based on the back of that. So I don't think a spotlight profile that didn't have much experience on it would stop me from actioning the self-tape if it meant that, you know, we get to, because we want to discover people all the time. Like, we don't want to just be kind of going to the same people over and over again. And obviously, I think, you know, if it was like we've got 4 slots to book in or something, and someone's got far more credits than someone else, then I can't lie and say that wouldn't be taken into consideration. But at the same time, if we're kind of trying to find someone who's best for the role, and I don't know, a lot of it is instinctive as well. Like, when we're looking through Spotlight and we've got we're just actioning, there could be you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of suggestions. And sometimes there's just something instinctual where you just look at somebody and feel like, oh, I could see them as that. And it's really nothing to do with their experience. It could just be the right look, or, you know, so I wouldn't feel self-conscious about whether or not you have the strongest credits. And I think it's about, you know, there's things that we can do, that Ash and I were talking about this, there's things that you can do to kind of put yourself in their mind's eye and, you know, make your skills, you know, very easily seen, so that when I'm looking through your profile, I can see what you have done rather than what you haven't, if that makes sense. I think because we're quite lucky, because of the technology open to us, is that most people now will start with a self-tape anyway, in which case your credits aren't as big an issue. But don't feel, whoever said that, she's an idiot.
I agree.
Sorry about that.
I was going to say, it's not the first time I've had it, actually. But
there's lots of bad advice as well as good advice, and I think the bad advice can really kind of get in your head and keep you sort of down, which is, I don't know, I guess everybody has their own prism and view of how the industry works, but the thing is, there isn't a way of how it works per se. So to just spout that probably is, you know, maybe they just want a certain thing on their books, who knows.
But also, I mean, there's a ton of reasons why you wouldn't have a body of experience, and that could be nothing to do. I'm not presuming that you started acting at the age of 18. Like, it could have been a career change. I mean, I didn't get into casting until my late 20s, and you know, a lot of people might have trained to be something else, and, you know, or taken a few years out to have a baby, or, you know, there's all these things that we know are a lifestyle thing that means that you've taken a break from that work or something. So I think anyone who has that in their mind should discount what credits are there or not.
But I think that's a more recent shift, to be fair, Sophie. I think that it's maybe the generational thing that we were just saying there is still maybe at play a little bit, and that before, you go back 5 or 10 years for sure, there definitely was that thing of, I can't let anybody know that I do anything else but be an actor, because I think I'm going to be sort of, you know, held accountable if I'm, like, it's almost as though I'm not committed if I'm
you're not taking it seriously, perhaps.
And I think there's always been a lot of that, which is bullshit when you then look at the fact that, well, how do you want me to pay my bills? Or, you know, like, I know in Julia's case, she's got kids, so what? She went and raised her kids. What? She can't do that?
Exactly.
So I think that is more totally understandable now. But go back a few years, and maybe it was still a bit of a don't tell anybody if you have another life kind of thing. You have to,
Yeah, completely,
which
completely.
is bullshit. Which is bullshit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Lovely.
Thank you for your questions.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Julia.
much, Sophie. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. I meet you in the room one day
Yes, definitely.
at a safe distance, of course.
Oh gosh, yeah.
With masks for everybody except
Yeah.
the actors. Except the actors.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ashley.
No worries. Take
Okay.
it easy. Bye,
See you.
Julia.
Bye-bye.
My puppy's licking my toe.
That means your puppy's hungry. Probably.
He's always hungry.
Okay, fair enough. Right, let's bring in. There's one more person in the room, so let me bring her in, and then if we have time, I'll get to some of the final questions. So this is hopefully Alejandra. I hope. Hello.
Hi.
That was almost like you weren't expecting the video to start. Oh wait, is your microphone on?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, now I can. That's better. Hello. How are you?
Hi, nice to meet you. Both
You
of you.
too.
Nice
You
to meet
too.
you. Is it Alejandra?
Yes, that's perfect, Alejandro.
Right. I'm gonna shut up. So Alejandra, you can just have a chat with Sophie for a while and ask whatever question you have. It's your time.
Thank you so much. Hi, Sophie. So,
Hi.
now I see you. Okay. I'm Spanish. I often go for Spanish roles or Italian because I speak the language, and Latina. But sometimes I don't get calling for Latina because maybe, I don't know, I'm too pale or I might just not fit the role to stop. But a manager in LA once told me that I don't have to compete with white American women because I'm not white. But at the same time, I'm not the typical Latina that they have in mind, like Sofia Vergara, because I look European. My question, finally, is what would your advice be for people like me?
That you kind of feel like you kind of fall between the two categories, kind of thing. It's really difficult because you want to be you want to be getting seen for the roles that you feel that you're right for. It's hard because ethnicity is kind of a bit of a hot topic in casting, and it's often quite a touchy subject. And I think it's one of those conversations we have to get used to being quite frank about. But I think, if I'm being honest, like you look more kind of European to me on when I first kind of saw you as well. But maybe that means that that's quite useful because you can transcend more of a, there's lots of different countries that I think it's more of like the accent thing, because a lot of the time when we're trying to cast European roles, particularly to the American ear, it's often like you have to have a really subtle accent. They like to have like somebody who you can tell that they're French because they're doing a bit of a French accent, but it's not too thick an accent. So I wouldn't be too concerned with kind of what you feel you look like. I think it's more like if you can do a kind of convincing accent, then that kind of lends itself much better to kind of getting cast as these types of roles. But you said you speak the languages anyway, didn't you?
Yes, but my English, obviously, you hear that I have an accent, and that's I'm working on that. But why they would cast me, for English, or when there are so many English people that that will do it perfectly fine.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I was on a panel about a few months ago where it was like a Russian film festival, and because we've done quite a lot of work on Genius Picasso, we cast kind of a lot of people out of, well, not a lot of people out of Russian, but we cast a lot of Russians in Europe to play Russians. But the question that kept on being asked me was, I'm somebody who can do I'm trying to work on my English accent, but I know that English actors are always going to have the edge. And I was saying, well, and a lot of people that were sat next to me were going, if you want a really good, if you want to train really hard and, melt your accent down so that you've got no accent, then there's loads of good voice coaches. But I was kind of coming at it that why would you? Because there's so many English actresses that will do that. Your niche is the fact that you're not, and that's really great in a production when we're going to be casting European roles, and we want somebody from Europe who has an accent that can kind of be that person. So it's I think it's just kind of being aware. I mean, it sounds to me like this agent kind of said this to you as if it were a limitation, that you didn't look this way or didn't look that way. I think if anything, you could be applicable in quite a lot of different scenarios, and that's a really big strength. So I think it's just about making that accent really, really specific, and then the rest will follow from there.
Okay, so can I just have 1 second? So would you say like maybe more like American or English, or just go for like French accent, or I don't know. Which one do you think that it would be better
to have accent-wise? I mean, if you can nail an American accent, that's great, because a lot of stuff that a lot of production requires an American accent. But again, it's got to be really, really good, because who knows a better American accent than American market? And I guess a lot of us grew up watching American TV and American films, and we have access to that, and we can naturally put it on fairly well. But I don't know. I think it's probably best to focus on what you're closer to, which would probably be a French accent or an Italian accent, or more of a kind of Latin-rooted language, and then hone those accents. But I mean, I think it's also about lightening them as well. So if you can lighten them down so that it's more of a subtle accent, so it's a bit more in line with kind of like an RP British accent, that's really good. You don't want to take it away completely, but just work on lightening it, and then that means that this sounds awful, and I don't mean this in a patronizing way at all, but if you can do like a general European accent, yes, that's really useful. I know that sounds dreadful, but it's actually very, very useful to be able to just kind of be fairly non-specific, but just sound like you're not American.
So you have to basically be from Switzerland. That's like the neutral European accent.
Yes, because it just conveys a sense of like foreignness without being too specific, and a lot of people kind of in production really enjoy that. And and I think if you can hone that bodes really well. But yeah, don't worry about what you are and what you aren't. I think it's just like honing your accents. I think is really useful.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, both of you.
No worries. I hope that was useful. Sorry, I feel like I just babbled at you there.
No. No, it was really useful. And I was just being a little bit naughty because I asked you 2 questions.
No, it's all right. I think you would be Mediterranean generally, right? I don't see why you wouldn't go for Mediterranean, which is obviously quite broad, but like, don't try and be, I guess, something you're not is kind of the point, really. And the Americans have a very different view of what things sound like, and most Americans haven't left America, so they don't fucking know anyway.
I didn't want to make this an anti-American thing at all. I just meant like,
no, it's not about that at all. And no, that's me saying it, but it is kind of true. Like, I have family that have come from the States to Europe, and they don't know what's what. Like, they can't understand anybody, and it's just it's such a huge country. They don't leave it much, so their ear, I guess, needs to be, you have to dilute it for them. But Mediterranean is pretty broad. I think that gives you a lot to play with.
I agree. I think just kind of, if you can make it fairly generic, that's really helpful. It's really good. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Well, you've got nothing but time, like all the rest of us, so maybe that's something to do.
Well, thank you. Have a lovely weekend for you.
You too.
You too. Lovely to meet you.
See you later. Bye. It comes up a lot, the accent question. I think I get it, because obviously, like, I get from the point of view of why would you cast someone who's not British for a British role, unless they're like a name, you know what I mean? And I totally get that argument. So, like, why would you learn a British accent if you're in the UK? Why not focus on your niche? I guess it's more than like the point you made about making it nuanced is actually one that not many people talk about, which is quite interesting. Like, it's not just enough to do a Spanish accent. If you talk like a Spaniard properly within it when you're talking English, no one will understand you, because it's too quick, and it's not going to resonate. It's almost like neutralizing it and then adding a little bit of flavor.
Which is really hard, actually,
Which
but it's
is-
actually the most successful approach, because we found that particularly with Genius Picasso, we were casting a lot of French actors, a lot of Spanish actors, and German actors,
Sure.
and we found that German actors naturally have a slightly more anglicized accent anyway, but when it came to kind of Spanish and French, it was just kind of it's quite a thick accent, and those that kind of were the most successful were the ones that could really lessen it, so that, like you say, it's more of a nuanced accent. But it's very difficult to do that, because to do just a nod to French is really tricky if you think about it, because
especially when you're not fluent in English. I think that's the key, that if you're not, or if it's not, maybe you're fluent, but it's still one where you're translating from your native tongue into the actual English word. So for Spaniards and French, grammatically, English is kind of back to front.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because you put the verb at the end of the sentence, don't you?
And also just they have like the masculine and feminine conjugations of verbs very different. So if they were to literally talk English from a direct translation from Spanish or French, it would be like stupid to us. So it's almost like you're in your head about that, and then you want to try and figure out, well, how can I dilute my accent and then add it back on? I'm sure it's quite complicated and tough to try and process.
Yeah, really tough.
Maybe alcohol's the way. Just get really,
that's been your answer to quite a lot of life problems based on this chat we've had today.
Really? I thought I only said it once. Oh shit. No.
I read between the lines, Ash.
No, okay, fair enough. No, I like to stay sober for all my auditions. Always. I have a few other questions that have been sent in from people, which I think we can just get through quite quickly here. We've kind of alluded to this a little bit, but maybe we can just clarify it straight down the line. This one's come from Monica. She said she's bilingual, British and Polish. And the question is, do you want to see English and Polish speaking scenes, in her case, on one reel, or would you advise to have them as two separate reels? So I guess someone who speaks another language, what's the best way to showcase that to you when it comes to show reel footage?
Oh, I mean, that's tricky. Maybe it would be good to have a Polish reel separately, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that. I mean, instinctively, I would say have them all on one reel, but I appreciate that not everybody might have enough content to split between two different reels, or because I think your show reel should really showcase your best work, and it shouldn't be everything you've ever done. So if you have enough, put them on two different reels, but there's no shame in just having one, because often we can just skip through to what we need to see anyway. But I think it's just different when we are trying to send material out to directors, for example. To just have the Polish reel might be really handy in that respect, because then you can just send it. Maybe that's the key then. Maybe have just one language on one separately to have if you need to send it somewhere, but on your Spotlight just have uploaded one with combined language.
Yeah. And I guess worst case, like if you don't, and it's for a case where you need to show something to a director quickly, maybe, I mean, would you take, I don't know, past self-tapes they've done in that language for another project, or just something they can do quickly?
Yes.
That's a bit more ghetto on the iPhone, less production value, but that's still going to work, I guess, right?
It will. It absolutely will. I mean, if it's just a demonstration again of your skill, then absolutely, yeah, it would work. But I think if you have your Polish reel ready, you don't necessarily have to have it on your Spotlight, but it's ready to go, as and when you need it, which is always a good idea.
Gotcha. And another one on the reels, now that we just got onto that. So I'm with you. I think we should show our best work on the reel and not everything we've ever done. Obviously, what your best work is very subjective, but I want to talk about it from the perspective of performance versus credit. So say I've got a really great performance that I want to put on from an indie film and it's less known, versus say a 3-line credit on a big TV show. Do I start my reel with the big credit, or do I start it with the performance? Because you might not watch the whole thing.
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I mean, again, there's no right or wrong. I'm just thinking in that scenario, if you start with, if it's quite a short clip from a big, I'd love to kind of come at it from the more kind of maybe what everyone wants to hear, which is the indie thing. But I think start with your if it's a short clip, start with the significant credit and then bleed into the better performance, because that will get my attention. I think if I saw that you had 2 or 3 lines in like a really big show, from a casting perspective, I know how much it takes to cast somebody for 2 or 3 lines in a show. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of competition. There's a lot of people that would have been considered for that role. So the fact that you got it, that I wouldn't discount that as not a significant achievement. And therefore, I would say put that first, and then put your strong indie performance after that.
Yeah, makes sense. I think maybe sometimes the reason you might not do it is because you think that it doesn't show you as a performer very well. Or you might think, oh, I don't want to be just getting 3-line co-stars for the rest of my career. So if I show that that's what I do, maybe then they're going to think and pigeonhole me as the co-star person, which when you're starting out, maybe that's what you have to do anyway.
But I mean, I guess it's up to you really, because if you think that your performance in that 2 or 3 line isn't representative of you, then don't put it first. But then I also think if you think that it's a good little contained clip, then definitely include it and put it first. But I guess it's kind of it's completely situational on, if it's a good clip or if you feel it represents you well or not.
Yeah. I guess it's like if your performance is shit, but you just happen to be alongside a super named actor, make a judgment call on what's gonna work.
If I can barely notice you in the clip, don't put it on there.
Yeah, okay. That's different. Yeah. Sure. I was just admiring your dog making a cameo in the background without you noticing there.
Oh, he's gone.
He disappeared. No, he was like, I'll do this on my terms, Sophie. You can tell other people and actors when to show up on screen, but I'm going to show up on screen when I want, God damn it.
Yeah, he's an independent.
I love it. I have one more, and then I'm done with the questions. And I kind of know probably what the answer will be to this, but I think it's good to ask it. Chris Eastwood has asked, does having an acting degree increase your chance of being seen for a casting? Because he said he's on Spotlight. He's done a lot of, indie films and projects. He's a member of an acting school and has been for 4 years, but he's just not trained professionally and hasn't been accredited. I don't think this applies much to the American market. I know in the UK with drama schools, accreditation maybe is seen from a different lens, but what's your view? If someone's not got a uni accredited acting degree, does that sway you in terms of bringing them in?
Not at all. No, it really doesn't. And I completely understand why people. It doesn't at all. I mean, it's the work you produce is the most important thing. And I think there's a lot of insecurity from people around their training and their credits, and I completely understand that. It doesn't. It's not something that we take into consideration.
I don't think so. It's just good to have that kind of said so that it puts people at ease. Does someone need to go out and pee?
Do you mind if I just let my dog out?
Yes, terribly. No, go do it. Do it.
Frolicking around the garden like a happy little pup.
With no cares in the world.
No.
Like, Corona what? What are you talking about?
Oh, you say that, but he'll run up to people in the park expecting some love, and everyone's going, "I can't touch you," and he just sits there crying because he doesn't understand it. So
what?
I know.
I mean, I don't think dogs are carriers. They've kind of said that, haven't they? And you're not getting.
Schools of thought, though. I mean, some people think that it's just a surface like anything else that you can transmit germs on. I know.
So I love it. So they'll happily say a dog's for life, not for Christmas.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they'll still say it's just a surface.
Yeah, right there. But I can't explain it to him either, because he's a really good-looking dog and he gets a lot of attention. And a lot of people want to touch him and they just don't want to touch him, and he's getting all these mixed signals from people, and then he's jumping up and then he's confused, and walking is just, it's a real mix of emotions for him at the moment.
Oh, how old is he?
7.5 months.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say 7.5. What? He's a baby. He has no idea.
Baby. Yeah, I know. I'm hoping that he'll remember all of his oh my god, sorry, I should be talking about the dog. Sorry, Karen.
Do it. But yeah, he's got a backyard he can go out in, right? That's a good thing.
Yeah. He's running around now digging up the flower beds.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, look, I like to kind of round these off with 10 kind of quick fire questions, which I swipe from inside the actor studio.
Oh,
So if you're happy for it, let's jump into that and just pretty instinctive reply, like, you know, what your first impulse would be to the questions.
okay. I'll try not to second guess myself.
All right. So the first question is, what's your favorite word?
Oh, I didn't think it was. I thought it was going to be about casting.
No. I mean, no.
I think it's probably ember.
Ooh.
My favorite word.
What's your least favorite word? I like that this has thrown you because you thought it was about casting.
Didn't expect it at all. I don't like rustle. For some reason, I just don't like the word, like a rustling paper. It just makes me feel, it hurts my ears. I don't know.
Okay. What turns you on in a creative, spiritual, intellectual kind of a way?
Conversation.
And
Good conversation.
What turns you off?
Arrogance.
I normally say the fifth one's optional because it's what's your swear word, but I don't think that's a problem for you. So what's your favorite swear word?
There's some really satisfying ones, aren't there? I'd probably throw fuck around a bit too much, but I think it's just very, like, it gets to the point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what 90% of people say. It's just
Yeah.
interchangeable and useful in so many situations.
And it's not too offensive either. It's not like, you know, going straight for the C words. It's like, it's just early. Yeah.
No. The good thing is as well, you can kind of like tag it on with other things. Oh, someone wants to come in. Yeah.
It's he. Oh, sorry. 1 second.
Do it.
Oh no.
No.
He's just barking at the neighbor's cat.
Even better. This should be a new show. I think I should do like next week on casting directors with pets.
Well, I'll bring him into shot next time and you'll see him.
Do it. Bring him into shot next time. And then I need to find a casting director who's got a really weird, obscure pet, you know, like they keep snakes or something and just.
Oh, like like a lizard or what are these, like a chameleon or something?
Yeah.
Gecko, that's what I was trying to think of.
It's not a pet really, is it?
No, they don't love you as much as dogs do.
Yeah, it's like, okay, were the goldfish not available, so you just got the next biggest reptile available?
My goldfish killed itself, so yeah, jumped out of its bowl.
Escaped full on like Shawshank, escaped the prison.
It's pretty traumatic, yeah. Yeah, don't want to talk about it. Actually.
Let's not. Yeah, that sounds quite horrific. This is not that kind of show. Where were we in the question? Oh, okay. So the next question is, what is your favorite noise or sound?
On Monzo, I have a Monzo account. When someone pays me, it goes cha-ching.
I love that because that's probably the most honest and authentic answer to that question so far. What's your least favorite noise or sound? You might have answered it earlier with the rustling, to be fair.
No, it's actually the sound of my phone falling out my pocket, which happens all the time because I keep it in my back pocket, and I always hear it. And it happened to my partner the other day, and it's a really specific noise. It doesn't sound like anything else falling on the floor, so you always know when it's your phone, and it's like this hollow glass sound, and it's awful.
How many cracked screens have you gone through?
Oh my god, millions! Like, I'm dreadful. I'm really clumsy.
You're probably like the one person who can't get phone insurance anymore because you just bash it up.
Yeah, they call me blacklisted. They think it's a racket.
What? Maybe this is the answer to the next question, which is, what would be the job or profession you'd most like to attempt aside from what you already do?
Well, actually, I've thought about this. I'm really into textiles, and I really like material, and I sew sometimes as well. So I think if I had the skill and the wherewithal, I'd love to make clothes. I'm not very artistic. I wouldn't be able to like design anything particularly high, like haute couture or whatever. But I like the actual physical process of working with material and making like clothes. I've made like cushion covers, stuff like that. But
awesome.
If I had the skill, I would like to do that.
Is it quite therapeutic, or do you just do it as a
It's frustrating as well because less often you have to kind of unpick what you've done and go back, and it's very exacting. And I'm not a very precise person. I don't have very good eye for detail. But I think it is very relaxed. It's very satisfying when you finish a project and you hold it up and you're like, oh, I made that. Because a lot of what we do in casting is theoretical. Like, you can't demonstrate it. It's kind of moving information around. It's like setting things up. It's logistics. and to actually physically make something and produce something feels great. It's really good.
Absolutely. What job would you definitely never want to do under any circumstance?
Something where you pester people, like debt collection or something like that. Something where you have to really ruin someone's day. I think I would. I mean, I'm not, it's a really difficult job, and I'm not saying people that do it are horrible. I feel sorry for the people that have to do it, because it sounds like it's a very emotional. Yeah, it's emotional. I'm too empathetic. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not empathetic, but I would struggle.
I guess they have to just be emotionless when they're doing it, though. That's the thing, right? And detach, and
That would be ruin someone's day like that.
being a bailiff for someone who just like has to go and
No,
no
not for
fun.
me.
Final question of these is the nice ethereal one of, when it's all said and done, what would you like the story of your life to be? Or what would you like your legacy to be? Like, how would you like to be remembered, I guess, is the condensed version of that.
I'd like to be remembered as someone who meant a lot to their friends and family, and would be missed for their disposition and how they made people feel. I think like that would be my friends are my family, and they mean a lot to me. So I'd like that legacy to be the good times we had.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think super sort of pertinent that, especially what's happening now, if you weren't aware of that already in your own life, like we're all kind of getting a deeper sort of awakening and I guess appreciation for that, right? Like the smaller things are actually the most important, biggest things, as opposed to maybe some of the external stuff that we give a lot of credence to. Awesome. Look, I'm gonna ask one other question that I don't ask other people, but it's not this, and it's just, what are you watching right now? What shows, what films, what's on your watch list at the moment, if anything?
Oh, well, I mean, I think I mentioned it before, but I read the book Normal People a couple of years ago, gobbled it up, loved it, and there's a BBC Three adaptation of it at the moment, and it's just beautiful. It's really good. It really captures the pain of young love so perfectly. The sex scenes are really good, like they're really well done. They're not gratuitous, but they're very realistic, and I'm really into it. It's Lenny Abrahamson, he's a fantastic director. I'm really enjoying that. I watch a lot of documentaries, but I'm trying to kind of watch more because I naturally like documentaries. I like pieces about human interest, and I kind of much prefer films and TV that are all about character development rather than kind of action sequences. Having said that, my fiance has just signed up to Disney Plus, and we're going through all the Marvels, but that's his choice. That's not mine. But yeah, Black Panther was really good though. And what else? So, Killing Eve season 3, and there was a really good show on. It was an HBO series. It was a Stephen King adaptation called The Outsider.
Right.
That had Ben Mendelsohn, and I really enjoyed that. And Cynthia Erivo, I think her name is. She was fantastic. If you can find it, it's called The Outsider. I'd recommend that. Probably
HBO.
not that. Yeah, I know. I think it's probably. I'm sure a whole bunch of people are shrugging and going, "Oh, yeah, it's been out for 2 years or whatever." But I thought it was really good.
Awesome.
What are you watching, Ash?
So I do the opposite of you. I can't watch 2 or 3 things on the go because I'm a guy. I can't multitask.
Right.
So I'm on Better Call Saul. I was playing catch up. I was way back on season 2 about 2 weeks ago, and now I'm very proud of my achievement that I've got up to season 5, episode 4.
Oh, you've come on a long way.
So I've caught up a lot. I've grown up, and now I'm back. I'm back in the world. So
Do you feel like a better man?
No, I always feel like that's not been an issue, but I feel like as a human, I've progressed and evolved into someone who now watches series at the same time as everyone else, as opposed to, like I said to you when we spoke the other week, I've not seen Lost. I've not seen The Sopranos. I've not seen all these shows that I probably should have watched.
Yeah, I know, but the pressure's too big. Great now, like it'll just
there's too much. It's like Ozark. I know I should watch it. I'm hearing great stuff, but it's just like I don't know.
And I hate it when someone goes, oh, "You haven't seen that? Oh my god, you have to see that." And I know I'm guilty of doing that sometimes too, but it's just like, oh, get off my back! Like I've got other things going on.
Yeah, but you could say, yeah, no, I didn't see it. I'm too busy helping make the damn fucking projects. Like,
Exactly.
Which is a pretty cool comeback to have, I think, from your point of view. It's like,
Do you know, it never occurred to me to say that, but I will now. I'm going to use
What?
it.
You need to say that all the time. It's like, no, I was too busy helping to make Genius and Homeland. You know, the shows that you watch, I make them. Awesome. Well, listen, it's been awesome. Loved chatting to you. I guess, last little minute here for you to just kind of have any closing comments of any kind of parting words you want to share with people, any of the actors that might be watching or listening. What would your kind of final remarks be?
It was something I was thinking about the other day, actually, but about how coming into casting when I felt what I thought was a little later in life compared to a lot of people that I was kind of competing with, was I had a really bad sense of imposter syndrome. And I think that's something that's kind of I really struggled with in my career, particularly when you're kind of holding court, as in like at a casting workshop, for example, or somewhere where you've got all these people looking at you and they're expecting you to kind of have all the answers and know all these things. And I think maybe I just want to reassure actors that, like, we are just people who have insecurities as well, and we don't know all the answers, and it's only our opinion that we can give at the end of the day, not kind of a surefire tip to like get you a job or anything like that. But we are human and we work for you, and we do the best job that we can. Just try to kind of see us as relatable people who are trying to get you the job, rather than like people who are like holding this golden ticket, because ultimately we want to do a good job and get the right people for the job as well. So I don't really know what my point was, just that we're all human. And
but I think it's important. I love that. It's a through line that a lot of people have been saying, and I think what they haven't talked about, there was the imposter syndrome, and I think that I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think a lot of people have it in many walks of life, and I think how we deal with that is very much down to the individual. But it's just experience, and maybe looking at it and going, no one actually is judging you or caring about you as much as you think they are anyway. It's just you and how you perceive it. So when someone like yourself comes out and kind of shines a light on it like that, I think it if one person listens to it and it helps them, then it's made it worthwhile you sharing that. So
thank you.
Appreciate
it. I think it's just about showing enthusiasm for what you do, and I think if you show enthusiasm, then people respond to that, and that's kind of the most powerful tool at your disposal. That's what I find, anyway.
Agreed. Well, listen, like I said, it's been awesome chatting to you. I think you're clearly sort of, not just good at what you do, but enthusiastic. I think that comes through, and you're super personable and just super relatable and easy to talk to. And I think people are going to enjoy listening or watching this and getting some insights and maybe being entertained by you and the cameo of your dog.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him a job now. It's been you've been amazing, Ash. Thank you. I've really enjoyed the chat. So thanks for having me.
Great.
And
my pleasure. All right, I'm going to leave you to it. Enjoy your birthday party later on Zoom or whatever you're doing it on.
Thank you so much, Ash.
Take it easy, Sophie. Bye.